I can assure you, Mr. Chairman, at no time in any of these texts did those personal beliefs ever enter into the realm of any action I took. Furthermore, this isn't just me sitting here telling you, you don't have to take my word for it. At every step, at every investigative decision, there are multiple layers of people above me, the assistant director, executive assistant director, deputy director, and director of the FBI, and multiple layers of people below me, section chiefs, supervisors, unit chiefs, case agents, and analysts, all of whom were involved in all of these decisions. They would not tolerate any improper behavior in me any more than I would tolerate it in them. That is who we are as the FBI. And the suggestion that I, in some dark chamber somewhere in the FBI, would somehow cast aside all of these procedures, all of these safeguards, and somehow be able to do this is astounding to me. It simply couldn't happen. And the proposition that that is going on, that it might occur anywhere in the FBI, deeply corrodes what the FBI is in American society, the effectiveness of their mission, and it is deeply destructive.
That is then FBI Deputy Assistant Director of Counterintelligence Peter Strzok testifying in July of 2018 about text messages that got him removed from Special Counsel Robert Mueller's investigation. Strzok is now the author of the new book, Compromised, Counterintelligence and the Threat of Donald J. Trump, and he joins us now. Peter, good morning. Good to have you with us. You said you wrote this book because the president's relationship with Russia is too important to ignore and that the American people deserve to know about it. So what specifically can you tell us about his relationship with Russia that we don't know already publicly?
Absolutely. Look, I've worked counterintelligence under 6 different presidential administrations, Republicans and Democrats. And what I can tell you is that what I saw with regard to President Trump is deeply concerning. A lot of that remains classified, and I can't tell you about it, but a lot has started coming to light. And there are examples that I can give you. For instance, all of these kind of revolve around his financial entanglements with Russia. As an example, when he's on the campaign trail in 2016, and he's assuring the American public that he has no financial relationship whatsoever with Russia, at the very same moment, his personal attorney is pursuing a deal for a Trump Tower in Moscow. The minute he says that on the campaign trail, Vladimir Putin knows that he's lying. Trump knows that he's lying. The FBI happens to know at the moment that he was lying as well, but nobody in the American public did. And so to maintain that lie, Trump needs Putin's complicity. And that creates a coercive relationship that Putin can use to leverage Trump's actions or inactions, and goes a long way to explaining some of the inexplicable things that we've seen Trump do relating to Russia.
As recently as in just the last week, actually, when he wouldn't condemn Vladimir Putin for the poisoning of Navalny. So you've said in the book that you could have destroyed President Trump in 2016, and you could do it again now, knowing everything you know. You use that as a defense that you weren't biased personally because you could have done worse and you could have exposed information. So is there something in there that you can tell us now that you are a private citizen? What do you know about President Trump that you think voters should know less than 2 months away from the election?
Well, absolutely, there are things that are not known that would still be damaging. The decision to release that is up to the administration. You've seen them expansively declassify material, which unsurprisingly tends to all be helpful to President Trump. There's a lot of material that simply is classified and that I can't talk about, but it's there. The American public has a right to know it, but that is a decision for the administration to do. I can't go declassifying information. I'm going to honor my oath to both the office that I held as well as the security clearance that I held. But that information, the American public deserves it, and the administration, frankly, deserves to have that known as well.
You mentioned the Trump Organization's pursuit of Trump Tower Moscow over the years. Is it fair to say, if you can't disclose classified information, is it fair to say broadly that the nature of President Trump's relationship is a business relationship, and that is perhaps why he will not push back against Vladimir Putin time and again?
I think that's absolutely fair. If you look at the scope of his business's relationship to Russia going back decades, if you look at the statement by one of his sons about the disproportionate amount of Russian holdings that represented the Trump's financial assets, all of these things speak to an ability of Russian interests, of illicit interests, to hold him under their sway and get him to do things that, frankly, we can't explain. Why isn't he speaking out against Russia placing the bounties on the heads of American soldiers in Afghanistan? Why isn't he pushing back against, as you mentioned, the attempted assassination of Navalny? Why is he talking about withdrawing from NATO, from withdrawing 11,000 troops from Germany? The list goes on and on and on. None of these things are in America's interest. Most, if not all of them, are in Russia's. And it begs the question why he's doing this. My answer, what I believe, is because there is leverage that Russia holds over him that is causing him to act in his rather than America's national security interests.
Some people will listen to that and say, all that for a hotel in Moscow? In other words, he's willing to put to the side relationships we've had with other countries. You talked about NATO. He's willing to ignore the things that Vladimir Putin has done for a hotel in Moscow. So there are people, including, by the way, prominent members of the intelligence community, former, who have suggested that Donald Trump is a, quote, asset of Russia. Do you believe that's true? That sounds extreme to a lot of people, but do you believe in some way that Vladimir Putin has so much leverage over Donald Trump that he is a, quote, asset?
Look, I recruited spies for 2 decades. What that looks like varies. On one end, you can have somebody who fully knows they're working for you, they're taking tasking, and they're going to do every single last thing you say. On the other end, there's somebody who doesn't even realize they're working with the United States government. I think the truth with President Trump lies in the middle. Do I think he's a Manchurian candidate? I don't. Do I think that he is doing things that are not in the interests of the national security of the United States because of the things that Russia holds over him that he does not want known? Absolutely, I believe that. That, if you step back, if you look at that as a patriot, as an American citizen, that's horrifying. But it exists, and it's real, and it's something that every American should be concerned about.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.